OCM, wiyé.nox here from Kwantlen First Nation. Kwantlen is located in Fort Langley on an island, and we live alongside the streamline of the Fraser River. For our six Cedars teaching, this week we will be looking at the salmon. The salmon teaches us to think critically and persevere when faced with a challenge. When during this teaching, you should think about your family's journey, or maybe what challenges they have faced during their lifetime. Could happen with your grandma and your grandpa, maybe your mom and dad, or maybe you've already persevered over difficult situations and had to face many challenges already as a young man and a young woman. From a First Nations perspective, Indigenous perspective, a Kwantlen perspective, I think of my mom's journey and how long she's been on that path of going to Indian residential school, surviving 3 Indian residential schools. She went to Cooper Island, Kuper. She went to Seashelt and St. Mary's. She spent 9 years away from her family, my grandma and grandpa, and her brothers and sisters. And when she survived residential school, she was old enough to join the military. So she went from one regiment to another. And that's when she met my father, French Canadian, and they started their family and traveled all around the world in the military. But when my dad passed away in 2008, that's when Mom and I were really faced with one of the most difficult challenges and moments in our life. So we had to persevere. And what we found the best way was to do that was to finally make our way home back to Kwantlen. So my mother had been away from Kwantlen First Nation for 48 years of her life. And that's what you call like being on a secret path, being away from home. I call it the secret path because we were never taught our culture. My mother was never taught her culture as a child too, because it was against the law. And when we came home in 2008, that's when you start to, get back on the sacred path. You finally make your way home, just like how the salmon make their way home to the ocean. Making your way home is miraculous and elicits many questions. What do I know about my family? What do I know about my brothers and sisters' struggles, my mom and dad's struggles? How do you know when to return home? Earlier this year in January, I talked about how 2020 was the year of return. And it is in many different ways. It could be health-wise, teachers who came back after being sick, teachers who came back after starting a new family members, and then you're seeing what's going on with the pandemic. It's a new world, a completely new world. And I talked about how in 1619 was when people from Africa made their way to America. And we're seeing what's going on with that. They've been away from that ocean. They've been away from their home ocean for 400 years. And they have a lot of questions to ask. Just like what it says on your handout. Can I identify criteria that I can use to analyze evidence? Can I ask open-ended questions and gather information? Can I experiment with different ways of doing things? So 2020 is the year of return. For myself and my mom, it was in 2008, which also happened to be the start of the Truth and Reconciliation, and where Indian residential school survivors were finally able to share their stories. So ask yourself the question, what can I do and how can I persevere when I face a challenge? Keep in mind that every story is different but similar, and they all contain the same value. HKCM, Hey Subka, thank you all.